Picture this: a tropical harbor in the early 1700s, not ruled by a king or a governor, but by a council of pirates. A place where a former slave could be an admiral, where crews voted on everything, and the spoils were divided with a strict, fair code. This wasn't a fantasy. For a brief, glorious decade, it was real. Welcome to the Pirate Republic. I'm Ibnul Jaif Farabi, and this is Echoes of the Ancients. In the aftermath of the War of Spanish Succession around 1713, thousands of seasoned sailors found themselves unemployed. Many turned to piracy, and they needed a base. They found it in Nassau, on the island of New Providence in the Bahamas. The Spanish had sacked it, the British government had neglected it, and so the pirates simply moved in. What they built was something the world had never seen: a functioning, radical democracy in an age of absolute monarchs and rigid class structures. This was the golden age of piracy, and its heart was this rogue republic. It was led by legendary figures like Blackbeard, of course, with his smoking fuses, but also by men like Black Sam Bellamy, the Prince of Pirates, who was known for his surprising mercy, and Charles Vane, a defiant and ruthless captain. But perhaps the most fascinating was Benjamin Hornigold, a pirate who initially refused to attack British ships out of a strange sense of patriotism. These men weren't just outlaws, they were the architects of a floating nation. The true Utopia, however, wasn't the dusty port of Nassau itself. It was the social contract aboard their ships. Pirate vessels were the most democratic institutions in the world at the time. The crew elected their captain by popular vote, and could depose him just as easily. The quartermaster, equally powerful, was elected to represent the men's interests and handle all disputes. Major decisions, where to sail, whom to attack, even the discipline of a crewmate, were put to a majority vote. This was direct democracy on the high seas. And their code, the Pirates' Code, was a revolutionary document. It guaranteed a fair distribution of plunder, with shares agreed upon in advance. Compensation was provided for sailors injured in battle, so much for the loss of a right arm, a different amount for the loss of a left. It enforced a form of social insurance long before any state did. The rules forbade fighting aboard ship, gambling, and even had lights-out policies. It was order, but order chosen by the people it governed. In a world where a British naval sailor could be flogged on a captain's whim, the pirate ship was a beacon of brutal fairness. But how do you sustain a republic built on plunder? You can't really. The very success of the pirates became their downfall. Their attacks crippled trade, and the British Empire finally decided to reclaim its colony. The Crown sent a former privateer, Woodes Rogers, with a clever offer: a royal pardon. Many pirates, tired of the life, accepted. Others, like the unyielding Charles Vane, refused and were hunted down. The final nails in the coffin were the ruthless campaigns of the Royal Navy. By 1718, the Republic was effectively dead, its utopian experiment crushed by the very imperial order it rejected. I think about Nassau often, walking the structured grids of New York City. We're taught to see pirates as mere criminals, and many were violent and cruel. But within their brief, failed state was a spark of something profound, a rejection of a world that told them they were expendable. They created a system where a man's worth was tied to his skill and his vote, not his birth. It was chaotic, unsustainable, and built on a terrible foundation. But for a moment, it proved that even on the fringes of the civilized world, people will instinctively reach for fairness, for a voice, for a say in their own destiny. Their republic was an echo of an idea we're still chasing today. This has been Echoes of the Ancients, a production of Light Knot Studios. Find more stories from the edges of history at https://www.lightknotstudios.com. Thank you for listening.